Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. And now this week, the Education Ministry pronounced itself on the reopening of schools 2 years after they were closed, indicating that all learners would be automatically promoted to the next class in January. So tonight, we would like to look at the nature of this automatic promotion and how it is going to work. In our studios, we have Professor Mohammed MPEZAMIHIGO, who is the Vice-Chancellor of Kampala International University, but also is a parent and a primary school owner. A very good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, and thank you so much for hosting me. We really appreciate NTV.
Well, I know you're going to speak to us in probably 3 different angles. You're a parent, a school owner, and also, you know, Professor, we want to hear from you first as a parent. What are your thoughts on automatic promotion?
First of all, I think automatic promotion is not a new concept at all. As a parent, I think a student or a pupil, because I have children in primary school and I also have in secondary, and I also have at university. So children, especially primary school going and secondary, definitely I think deserve going to the next class if they have fulfilled the previous class. That is the normal situation. So my feeling is that there's going to be a real issue because what happened with the COVID pandemic is that what government was able to do was to really try to limit the spread of the pandemic and also make some efforts to, you know, develop reading materials, distribute them countrywide. Some got, some didn't get. And so there's a category of children who, for example, I don't think have ever looked into the book again.
Sure.
And they've been enjoying television and radio stations and becoming creative at home. There are those who probably got a certain percentage of the content, and there are those who have actually fast-tracked. In fact, instead of 2 years, you know, jumping 2 classes, some of them are probably going to go to the 3rd class because of the effort that was put or made by their guardians and sponsors, but at a cost. So that's really the whole mix that we are in. And I think the population is divided into those categories. This is my feeling about it. Okay,
so how do you think this is going to play out? You've already pointed out the 3 different categories that we're having: those that were able to carry on with the studying, those that stopped halfway, and even those that really did not touch any material. How does automatic promotion work?
Now it is going to be very interesting because the schools are going to have a bit of work to do.
True.
We are talking about learners. Now there's another component which is major, and these are the teachers themselves. The support staff may be, I mean, if somebody was a matron looking after the kids, probably that will not change a lot. Maybe this matron will now receive slightly older kids. The girls who were like 8, now they are 10, and boys, and so on and so forth. But for the teachers, the mix that is going to happen is that the teachers themselves have an issue. Some of them have actually forgotten and even their capacities, because if you do not refresh your content as a teacher in the classroom, you are not up to date, you are now going to be challenged as well. So, but that's one part. But for the learners, schools have got to have a system, a mechanism of not preventing the kids from moving on, because this is a government directive. The First Lady, and who is also the Minister of Education and Sports, already issued guidelines on automatic promotion. Now it's upon the schools to have a very, very robust system that will try to make an assessment of the children who will be coming back, assuming they go back to the same school, because parents still have a lot of fear. You know, if they were moving in a van, the issue of, you know, contracting the disease and so on are still outstanding. So schools have to work, you know, seriously hard. Of course, unfortunately, the time is not adequate. We are now going into Christmas break and so on, and New Year. So schools have got to profile the kids and know that, well, this kid was in primary 5, now he or she should be going to primary 7. You need to check whether they will be able to match. Now, automatic.
So you think this assessment is the one that is going to determine who goes to what class?
Yes.
We've also had complaints from different parents that say, my child should be able to, since it's been 2 years, if they were in
Yes.
P4, right now they should probably be in P6.
P6, yes.
You know? So do you think this assessment that you talk of is actually going to streamline all those different concerns?
It's going to be, can I say, a nightmare for schools. My assumption is that the bulk of the kids did some haphazard learning, and just they tried to keep themselves busy. And for those that were highly organized, parents actually hired teachers who did some form of coaching and tutoring, and they were following also the syllabus. We have a category of those parents. Of course, the ones who are in international schools, those were not heavily affected. Learning online was also, I think, by a very small percentage of the kids. So the schools, on one hand, don't want to lose the children. Yeah. And I mean, if a kid was in primary 1, is now was 6 years or 7, and now going to primary 3, that's already 9 years or 8 years. This is a big boy or a big girl. Now their learning needs have also shifted. So there's going to be lots of compromises in between in the discussion. The danger, though, is that the compromise may, in the long run, affect the quality of education. Definitely. And the effects may be realized 2-3 years down the road. And this is like a queue. You know, you have one serving point at a wedding ceremony, and all of you are waiting. Definitely there is a danger of some of you eating late and some of you even missing out. So this is what is happening in terms of this automatic promotion. Of course, the logic behind it is to decongest the classes. You decongest the classes. However, the fundamental question is, how prepared are the schools? How prepared are the teachers? What assessment tools are they going to use to ensure that on one hand they balance the needs of the parents, because you may wish your kid to be in, you know, 2 classes ahead because they've been at home for 2 years, but actually when the level of retardation requires that they go actually a year behind. Of course, studies have showed that repeating a class, and in this case, what are they repeating? Because for the 2020 groups like P1, P2, P3, those have never come back to class. So they are going, it's assumed 1 year, 2 years they've been studying. The ones that came and tested a little bit, that's also another flavor, if you may wish to call it. And that category also did study a little bit. Now, you want to decongest on one hand, but then the onus is going to be upon the schools, upon the teachers, upon the director of studies in those secondary schools and the primary schools, to ensure that it's not a matter of moving kids into the next class. Because if they do, UNEB, the Uganda National Examinations Board, when these kids are moved into candidate classes, the danger will be definitely, it will manifest. It doesn't matter when, but it will manifest unless there are interventional programs by the ministry that are going to support the bridging of the remedial gaps that have to be filled in to ensure that those that missed catch up. Now, there are also learners who have lost interest. True. And it will take them another maybe 3-4 weeks before they rediscover that now they are back in school. They have picked up different character, they've picked up different behaviors. Some teachers have been riding their borders to make life, to make their ends meet. Others have gone into some small-scale trades, which is fine. Now, that switch should also not be ignored. So we really need to focus on, it's a complex, it's a whole cycle of issues beyond just a mere automatic promotion. We're
just a few days to the festivities, and I do know that even into the new year, we usually lose about 5 days. So if we are to really estimate, schools, teachers, parents have about certain days to prepare their children to get back in the system. At the moment, as we conclude this conversation, how do we navigate? Because at the end of the day, we have to get back to school. Right. What should we be doing at the moment?
I mean, what is very surprising, if you move around, everybody is excited
yes,
to get back to school.
Yeah.
So, and people are already asking for circulars, for, you know, for what are you charging, you know, what are you going to offer? And so people are busy preparing. I think the 10th as the starting date seems to be near, but we need that starting, because if we don't start, we will not understand how to deal with the magnitude of the problem. So let's go for it. But of course, we must also take care of the compliance of the SOPs. And the challenge is going to be, parents are going to come with all sorts of theories.
Yeah.
I think we need to have a concerted effort as different stakeholders, as a parent, as somebody who runs a junior school. And in the university, what we are heading for in probably 3 years to come, we may even actually recommend pre-entry exams for the kids who will be joining university, because there are going to be certain gaps along the way. Yeah. What is most important for government and other education stakeholders to do is to ensure that we do what I want to call automatic promotion plus. That means you do the automatic promotion, allow the kids to move, but the other plus is where the interventional strategies come on board to ensure that whereas you know you've moved these kids and they have gaps, you have also provided for how you are going to address those gaps. That way you'll be able to make up for the differences, and then we'll be able to harmonize maybe in 2 to 3 years to be able to reset the button, and then we are good to go.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Mohammed MPEZAMIHIGO, who is the Vice-Chancellor at Kampala International University, but he is a school owner as well, and also a parent, giving us his perspective on the latest pronouncement on automatic promotion. Thank you as well for joining us. Do send us your comments on our social media platforms. We'll take a short break, and NTV Weekend Edition will return shortly.